Thank you, Mr. Leclerc. Mr. Iwanchuk.
Yes, Mr. Fisher. Just on your last statement, because I'm confused here, just from our previous presenter we had, and I asked the question to find out, because we keep talking about this freedom of choice, and yet, and we'll be hearing, I guess, getting more information on this, but there are 7 other jurisdictions where the LRB designates employers and that. So this, it is quite bothersome that this freedom of choice is coming up. But I want to, my question was about this, because you've used 2 things, natural evolution and freedom of choice. And, but I want to introduce a couple other words, stability and unintended consequences, because I think we've heard about some of these. And let me just take you through a bit of history here, because I have a report here, October 4th, 1985, Foreign and Insurance Davidoff and Seiferling, commissioned by the Devine government. And in that, the repeal, let's just read from that, the repeal of the CILRA, unionized contractors and unions were left to negotiate in the same manner as existed prior to its enactment in 1979. I think we've heard the kind of troubles we had before then. Also, there was a section in here, and this is interesting, because the Labor Relations Board has interpreted Section 4C of the repeal legislation to mean that the rates of pay and other conditions of employment in the 1982 contracts would continue until new or revised contracts are concluded. So we had a repeal, we had left. So what happened? Consequently, unionized contractors unable to terminate their 1982 agreements began bidding projects through spin-off, double-breasted companies in an effort to be competitive and free themselves from their obligations under old collective agreements. As a result, the unionized construction industry in this province is in very serious difficulty and disarray because of market conditions and order demands. A greater proportion of construction works being done non-union than ever before. Figures provided to us by the contractors showed that the unionized segment of the industry performed approximately 77% of the work in 1980. That proportion has decreased in 1984 to 3% and 1985 to 14%. Now, under these banners of natural evolution and freedom of choice and the things that have been presented, I have to tell you, I am, with some of the information that's being tossed about here, and I mean, we will have to, as a committee, do our due diligence and do the work, but I'm really concerned when I hear that somehow that this isn't freedom of choice, and I hear that in 7 other provinces we have regulated, the LRB is doing this, but I wonder if in a number of years we are going to be faced this, because the other issue in here, and it's not a question of unionized and choice, the other issue that is being brought forward here, and I see a destabilizing thing happening here right now, I have to say, in these presentations. We hear the unionized sector coming and the things that we're hearing, and we hear the other side, and we have, people are saying, the message I'm hearing also, 17 years of stability. And I listen and I look at this, and I'm sure the best of intentions were meant in when the new regulations were passed. And I hope that we're not creating the same issue. And I would just wonder if you have any comments on that.
Well, you made a lot of statements. Firstly, the economy in the construction industry was vastly different in the 1980s and 70s, 80s, than it is today. Very different. I would note that under the current legislation, as I understand it, you cannot have a spin-off company created. So you can't do what you're talking about, double breasting. That's not going to happen. But on a more philosophical level, I'll make this one comment, that we shouldn't always assume that businesses always do the bad thing. They're always out to take advantage. I think that this industry understands it's competitive for workers. It is competitive in a tight market to find workers to come forward. Very different than it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. No question about that. I'm not going to speak to what happened in the reports you have. I've not read the reports, so I won't comment on the veracity of it. It's what you said it was. I'll take that at face value. But I will say that this clearly offers choice, and how we can say it isn't, to me, is a remarkable statement. When you can have a different kind of choice, wall to wall, as opposed to just the building trades. For me, that clearly is a choice, an additional choice. It provides a different kind of organization that may be not favored by you, but certainly it provides more companies coming in, more work to come in, and freedom to choose a different labor organization to represent someone. To me, that's choice. To me, that's obvious. I fail to see how it couldn't be choice. I will not speak to how other provinces are organized. I'm talking about Bill 80, what that means, what it means today. And you can accept or not accept the fact that what this is doing is providing workers the choice to stay where they are, which is completely legitimate, or make a change if they so choose. I fail to see that to be detrimental to the industry.
No, just one. You're right that there's choice. My questions were, if we accept what you're saying, and I'm not going to argue with that point, what I'm also hearing is what I wanted to ask you. That my question was that there are also issues coming forward of stability in the industry. So your choice, and saying that it's going to destabilize the industry. You have 17 years. That perhaps you're not listening to that. And I raised this other issue as unintended consequences that we maybe don't see, that before we leap, we should know where we're getting to. And to really say, as you did, we had the progressive contractors in here who said CLAC has 23,000, or was it 26, I'm sorry, my notes, are not standing at the border to come in here. So we all agree that the problem is shortage. And this is a proposed, and people are saying this is the silver bullet, because what I'm hearing is this will do these things, and then no, it won't. But I think we have to also listen to everyone who comes, and the other people who are coming are talking about stability. They are talking.
Question of stability, because you mentioned a couple of times that seems to be the root of your point, if I might.
Well, just a couple this time, but go ahead. Sure.
But certainly on the issue of stability, I want to use the analogy of a car that's not firing on all cylinders. It runs well, but it could go better. Sure, there's not been a strike for actually it's longer than 17. It's like 24 years. Yeah. It's a lot longer. Yeah. In the changes that were introduced in 2000, we're not sure why.
I think there was one with 650 people.
There was no labor problems then. We made these changes that issued the problem of abandonment that came forward. So we're in a really murky world here of how things are going forward. But certainly we don't see this as destabilizing. We see this as an opportunity, because it's not dictatorial. It's not saying you must be organized wall to wall within the construction trades. Nothing is compelling the industry to convert to that. It's the choice of the workers. And I think that's an important element here. It's not being foisted on anyone here. We're talking 20% of the industry. We're not talking about the entire industry. If it was the entire industry forced to be converted over, then you may have a point. But in actual fact, this is prescriptive. It could be used if the choice is made.
Because I did read in there before 1979, when you go project by project, or you allow separate certifications on job sites, you are recreating the very thing that started this whole process. And I think that you should be well aware of that when you say that you're going back, you're taking everything back to square one. The reason these 7 other places have is they determined that this is the best way over years, over experience, to come to a stable, to stability. Just because it's stable and you say it's not firing on all cylinders, I think there are a number of other things that come in.
Mr. Leclerc?
I think the member is starting to get into a debate with the witness, and
I don't mind.
And well, I do. I'd like him to stop the debate and just get to the question. And
the question is, and we can say, and I think this is where people come to say, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And I mean, sometimes we all get on the wrong side of that one, but because we want change. I'm just cautioning, because we are also hearing from the people who actually work in the industry that this is going to cause this, and we are simply ignoring that. And I, as a member of this committee, am very concerned about that, because then I point out that this is what we had before 1979. So again, we'll be looking at all the material, but I would like your comments for the record on that.
Within the industry, the reverse, where about 80% of the industry was unionized, 20% not unionized. And we had issues related to, whipsawing, where there'd be a strike here, a strike there, and that had major instability for everyone. Totally different market than it is today. I think the understanding of both the union and non-union side, if I can use those terms, have grown and matured. Thus, we've had tranquility here. But together, we need to address the fundamental issue of capacity of this province to grow. And you need to ask yourself the question, and we all do, how are we going to deal with this systemic problem of growth? We don't have the people living here. We have people coming back. Yes, we do. And our population is going up. Our economy is going forward, irrespective of the international recession. And from my perspective, I want a high-level answer of how we can frame the discussion to build capacity. Then we drill down into particular issues of how we can deal with them. But when I see an opportunity to provide for more contractors to come into this province, and there'll be a union, and that's a good thing. Because frankly, as long as they're working and employed, I don't care whether they're union or non-union. We have companies coming in who will build capacity. Everyone wins. Is that not stability? I don't know. I think that's stability. In my view, that brings greater stability, greater growth, jobs. Our kids will have jobs. They won't leave the province.